Hello, hello, welcome. Give you a couple minutes to come on in, and I'm going to open up our chat here. I'm just going in. Welcome back to some of you who we just trained live in synced together. Rinsed the sweat off, got back in front of a different computer. All right, I'm going to open this up here. If you can just type in hi or hello, this is how I always test out whether or not our chat is working. When we get to the part where I will open up the floor for questions, this is where we post questions. I don't answer questions all throughout because I'm going to teach you. I mean, this is a masterclass, so I'm going to teach you today, and then I'm going to open up the floor towards the end for questions. So if you've never joined me before in any of my master classes, welcome. My name is Jen. I am a functional medicine diagnostic nutritionist, a medical exercise specialist, and I specialize in women's health and hormones, fitness, and nutrition. I have a very holistic, rooted approach in how I work with women, regardless of what their goals are in their body. So it may be an aesthetic goal, wanting to look a certain way. It may be wanting to deeply feel a certain way. It could involve their hormones, their digestion. It could involve literally just wanting to be strong and powerful and figure out a way that feels more sustainable and doesn't feel like they're constantly chasing a new plan, a new routine, some level of restriction, telling themselves stories like, I just don't have enough discipline, I don't have enough willpower, and getting caught up in what nowadays is very easy to get caught up in, all of the noise that lives on social media, where it is actually quite challenging to feel like you can make a decision on your own about your health. Because every day you open a device, whether it's a phone, your iPad, your laptop, your computer, even just turning on the news nowadays. I mean, we're watching sports, my husband and I, all the time, and it's nonstop commercials right now for like GLP-1s and all these things. And I'm like, what happened to just a Tim Hortons commercial? And so there's just so much that's coming at us. And also, we understand that the history and lineage for us as women is we've not really been taught a lot, if anything, about how our bodies function. And when it comes to building a healthy, strong body as a woman, most of us have been taught the opposite. Stay small, lift tiny little pink weights, and, only go to the women's section of the gym and don't get bulky, and all of these things that have just quite honestly confused women so much. And if you're confused, you're not in a confident state of being able to feel like you can trust your body because you don't know what you're trusting. You don't really understand at the end of the day how things are working. And if this is a normal thing your body's going through, or if this is something that actually requires some help and some support. And, on the other side of that is we can go and we can reach out and try to get support, but then we feel dismissed, or we're just given what feels like a panacea, right? Like something that's just like, just take this, now to get through this phase or to get through this time. So my intention of running the masterclass today is that every single year when it comes into the holidays and then into the new year, the quality of questions that I get asked change. And it is definitely around, I want to lose weight. This is the year I want to lose weight. I want to change my body composition. In the last few years, it has been the request of I want to build muscle. And I will tell you, this is new. What I mean by that is that I have been doing this. I have been teaching group fitness since I was 17 years old. I have been personal training since I was 19. I have been working deeply in women's health and hormones since I was 22. And this request for women to build muscle, it is one that I used to have to convince women to make one of their goals. They were never coming and being like, I want to build muscle. They would say, I want to get toned. I want to get toned. I want to lose this. I don't want my arm to keep waving after I'm done waving. I want to lose my belly. I want to lose cellulite. That was the kind of languaging that women were coming to me with. It's very different now. Now women are actually saying, I want to build. I want to be stronger. I want to build muscle. And what I've loved so much is that even more recently, I've had women reach out to me and say things like, is what you offer, what you teach, does something like Ignite? Like, what if I don't want to lose weight? What if I actually want to, I want to build? And I'm like, 100% yes. Like, that is me. I am that woman that is always looking at how do I build? And when we hear a word like that, build, oftentimes women automatically associate build with bulk. I'm going to get big. I'm going to get bigger. I'm going to feel thick. And that is not what that means. So today, what I want to teach you is I want to teach you first and foremost, what it means to have healthy metabolic health as a woman. We have been caught up in the word metabolism, and that, when you're gaining weight, it means your metabolism is slowing down or your metabolism is broken. When you turn 40 or 50 or you go through perimenopause or menopause, you have children, that at some point your metabolism, it's not working the same anymore. And that's not actually true. And we do need to be very cognizant. We have to be mindful of what we believe is said, because that is what we make true for us. And so if it's, us believing that something is broken within our body, that's actually very disempowering. And then we kind of think like, well, there's nothing I can do about that. And when it comes to our metabolism, that's not true. It actually doesn't slow down. And I'm going to teach you that today. But your metabolic health is not your metabolism. Your metabolic health is your whole health as a woman. It is your endocrine system, which is your hormones. Your metabolic health involves your thyroid. It involves your adrenals' ability to produce and regulate cortisol, which I'm going to teach you about today, how you manage your insulin and your glucose. Every single woman, regardless of what it is that, she is doing in her life right now, when she goes through perimenopause and menopause, whether this is medically induced, this is surgically induced, or this is happening just as a progression of her life, is going to have a metabolic shift in how her body produces, manages, and regulates her insulin and her glucose. Every single woman is going to go through a period of time somewhere between the age of 40 and 60, where her body is going to nearly triple the amount of visceral fat that is stored around her abdomen and around her organs. This is different than subcutaneous fat. Visceral fat is the kind of fat that it's a deep fat, and the body does this on purpose as a woman. And typically the signal is when estradiol, your estrogen from your ovaries, starts to decrease, your body starts to double down on producing estrone. This is estrogen 1, okay? And estrone, this has a greater impact on your adiposity. Adipose tissue is fat. And so the body protectively starts to lie more fat around your organs to cushion, to insulate, to protect you. Okay. Now we're like, I didn't sign up for that. And maybe you're like, I don't need that kind of protection. I'm building muscle. I can protect myself. The body doesn't work like that. Subcutaneous fat is the fat that sits like under the skin. Okay. And that visceral fat, on average, most women, when they're going into menopause, average woman's body, okay, it's about 8% visceral body fat. And this isn't like when you go and get a body fat scan done or a DEXA scan, or you're going to get an in-body and they tell you like, oh, you have 25% body fat. Okay, that's not what I'm talking about. It's the composition of what the fat is made up of. So average woman, 8%. When she goes through the transition of menopause, that is typically going up somewhere between 20 to 23% based on the latest statistics that were actually released last week. So that is almost tripling the amount of visceral fat. And that is without any dietary changes. That is without any exercise changes. That is how your metabolic health and your metabolism is adapting to an internal shift in hormones. Okay. Now we can't blame menopause and be like, menopause is the only reason that I'm gaining weight. There's a lot of different factors, but that one that I just taught you right there, if you take nothing else away from learning today about this, it's understanding that when we say things like, I have changed nothing and everything is changing, this is one of the examples that I am giving you. So when we know something like this, that there are these internal, intrinsic, this is biology in our body that is changing and happening. This is why when you hear everyone right now on podcasts, on the internet, writing books about this, saying to you, your lifestyle matters now more than ever. Your level of stress, your level of sleep, what you eat, how much you eat, the way that you move your body matters, because your lifestyle is going to impact that metabolic health picture overall more than anything else. When we were younger and we had all hormones, okay, not just estrogen and progesterone and testosterone, but our body just, you think of like the energy when you look at kids. You think of the energy, I even think of their body temperature. The other day I went to the grocery store and all these high school kids' t-shirts, not a sweater, not a coat. I was freezing looking at them. They don't feel it, okay? They're a completely different beast. We used to be that. All right. We used to be that. And as we have aged, we have lived more in life. We have had more stress. There's been more things that have happened to our body. I think where women really do a disservice to themselves as their body shape is changing and composition is changing is you keep telling yourself you aren't doing anything different. And sometimes because you aren't doing anything different, that's exactly why changes are happening that you don't like. Because you should be shifting your approach. You should not be training your body the same way that you have your whole life or in your 20s and in your 30s. You should not be applying the same amount of pressure and stress that you used to. You should not be cutting down on your sleep the way that you used to. The other things that have shifted is, I don't know about you, but in my younger years and when I had younger children, I never sat still. If I had had an Oura ring on me then or a pedometer, I probably would have been doing 20,000 steps a day. I do this for a living, what I'm teaching you right now, and I have an Oura ring and I have worn a little pedometer, and I will tell you my average daily movement, sitting at this computer, going up and down the stairs, just living my life, if I'm not intentional about it, I can sometimes move about 4,000 steps in a day. And I do this for a living. I can teach a class, okay? I can teach a fitness class, and I can come and work at this computer all day and only do 4,000 steps in a day. But if you said to me, are you busy? Are you active? Do you move a lot? I'd be like, oh yeah, because that's the energy that my body feels. But the reality is most of us are moving less. Our habits and our lifestyle have changed in some which way, form, or another. Our health is not quite the same at what it used to be. As women, we do these things where we dip in and we dip out. I am all in. It's January, okay? You're probably all in. I'm all in. I mean, perfect. I'm gonna like eat perfectly. I'm also gonna be in a little bit of caloric deficit because everyone on the internet is telling me that menopause is not to blame and nothing else is to blame and it's not that fucking hard and all you have to do is be in a deficit. So I'm just gonna cut my calories. I'm gonna move more than I eat, so I'm gonna burn more than I eat. And I'm really good doing that Monday to Thursday. By Thursday, I'm kind of over it. It's boring. I've had a bad day. I want a glass of wine. I want to eat something that's not on plan. And now I'm just going to let things kind of feel like they fall apart over the weekend. But Monday's coming. I'm going to start it again. We do this in and out, in and out, in and out. We're like, I'm all in, but then we're really like, I'm kind of 50% in, and then I'm 50% out. And I'm going to talk about this deeper in 1 second. But what I want to say to this is, this in and out, you're actually causing yourself way more stress physically, mentally, and emotionally than what is necessary. And the problem is you don't recognize that you're doing the 50-50 and you get 100% mad at yourself that you're not getting the results that you want. And oftentimes women, we will say very unkind things to ourselves. Like, what the hell is wrong with me? Why can't I just do the damn thing? Why can't I have the willpower? Why can't I have the discipline? Why can't I just do it? Okay. Does this resonate with any of you? How many of you have felt like you are just kind of stuck in this loop? You might be here today because you're like stuck in the loop and you're hoping I'm just going to drop some wisdom bomb and tell you one food, a product to go and buy, a food to go and buy, and one workout routine to do. And then that's like 2026 is your year. Okay. I wish it was like that. What I'm going to teach you today, and this is like, here's this thing. Some of you are going to love this and some of you aren't, because what I'm going to teach you is the boring, mundane, repetitive things that you need to do if you actually want to change your body. I've been doing this for a very long time. I know what I'm talking about. We create incredible results. We're not a company that shows our clients' bodies online, and that is by choice. There's a few reasons why I don't run weight loss programs. We don't show our clients' bodies online. If we have a woman who's worked with us and she's like, I want to share my story, we 100% will do it. It's not something we make part of our programs and put testimonials out like that for a few reasons. Number one, I don't want you choosing what to do purely based off aesthetics. And aesthetic goals are incredible. I have aesthetic goals. I want to look a certain way and feel a certain way. But you need to understand, regardless if you are 40 years old listening to this or you are 68 years old listening to this, the actual metrics and formula of building muscle and losing fat and body composition, they don't change. but they are way more boring than what you realize. So today I'm going to break this down in terms of your nutrition. I'm going to break it down with exercise. I'm going to break it down in terms of what this means from stress and hormones. I'm going to give you what'll feel like a bit of a formula for yourself where this is actually going to be way more manageable. I'm going to teach you why applying 1% effort is always going to get you further than 100% effort. And then I don't want to see you next year. I don't want to run a webinar again like this next year, because what I want by the time that this year is over is for you to come and say, I attended your masterclass the beginning of 2026. I understood what you said, and I've been spending this year applying it. Now I'm ready to go deeper. So when I'm saying to you, I don't want to run this again next year, I want you to learn the basics so you never forget the basics, because mastery is actually built on the mundane. I've built a whole life around simplicity. And I watch people all the time chasing, 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 chasing. And it's a cycle. You chase, you burn out. You chase, you burn out with your food, with your exercise, with everything. It is not sustainable. It is not sustainable. Okay. So I'm going to start to lead. What I'm going to ask is that you hold your questions until I say, like, do you have a question about that? If somebody is new popping in here and you ladies are seeing somebody that's asking a question, if you can just be my assistants today and you just respond to that woman and just say she's going to get to the point where she's going to answer questions. Okay. All right. So I have made notes for myself so I can stay on track today, because if you know me, you know I could keep you here until the end of 2026. So let's talk first about this, what I said about your metabolism adapting. All right. So your metabolism does not stop working when we hit a certain age. Okay. So I know we get told that, like it stops, it doesn't respond, we don't burn calories the same way. That's not necessarily true. What happens is your body is adapting. So, we just don't realize how much change is happening that's impacting our system. And so, as I said, if we think about just this visceral fat component where there's internal changes happening that we didn't get a memo about, your body doesn't say to you, oh, just so you know, like right now behind the scenes, I'm starting to actually put more of that fat in this area of your body. And maybe you've noticed this. Maybe you've noticed that when you were a different age, when you were younger, you held more weight in your hips and your thighs and your glutes. And now you're like, now it's all coming upstream. Now it's all sitting around my waist. Or, you're just noticing it in different areas of your body. That composition is what's starting to change. When we have this combination of some of these metabolic adaptations that are happening when we get to a certain age, because we have to remember, regardless of whether or not, we feel we've given permission to this, our biology as a woman, and men have their own biology that changes this, but our biology as a woman, that when we get to the end of our reproductive years, there is a complete systemic shift that happens not just in your hormones, not just in your ovaries, literally from your brain down. So when we think about that, like, when we think about things like when we have cravings, okay, when we are like, oh my God, I need to have something, and the body is searching for something that's going to give you like that dopamine hit. I want the salt, I want the sweet, I need the glass of wine. It's like we're either reaching for things so we feel up or we feel neutral. Okay. So we're either trying to numb something or we're trying to grasp something. Same thing with your workouts. There are women where unless it's intense and it's boom, they don't get the same high. They'll call it endorphins, but really it's a high that you're looking for. And when you start to do the same things over and over again, you teach yourself, you teach those neural nets in the brain, you teach your body as a whole. This is the only way. This plus this equals this. The only way that we're going to sweat the way that we need to, that we're going to burn the calories, that kind of is, it has to be hard. It has to be this. And so then if we go and do something, it's like you take a boot camper and put them in yoga. Oh my God, it's torture for them because they're like, it's too slow. This isn't enough. I'm not burning the calories. Meanwhile, it's probably the thing that their little boot campy body needs the most. We have classes that exist now that we call strength training, but they're actually like metabolic circuit training, right? Like an Orange Theory or F45 and that it's all circuit. So that's not actually like true strength training. When you're doing circuits and you're doing things where you're doing higher reps all the time, And I teach classes like this, but I understand the difference of it. When you are doing something where you're going high volume, okay, you can't actually lift enough weight to create that right kind of stimulus. And we know if we look at the literature, anywhere from a 5 rep range to a 30 rep range is enough to actually produce the right stimulation to build muscle in the actin and the myosin, okay? We know that. That being said, if you're a woman who is saying, my goal is like, I want to build my shoulders. I want to lift and build my glutes. I want to drop some inches. I want to, achieve this level of body fat. Doing a workout that is actually more cardiovascularly based, higher reps, no rest, boom, 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 may not be the thing that's going to help that woman build that goal. My body would be a prime example. To hit my goals, those workouts, which I teach that kind of workout every week, not the best workout for my goals. So my body's out of alignment. I'm fit. I have an engine. I'm like, I could just keep going, but it's actually impeding my body type, my body's ability to build muscle because it's not a heavy enough weight because I'm lifting it so many times. It's too cardiovascular based. Then you have women on the other side who are like, I don't need to like build, build, build. I want to be strong. I want to feel fit. I want to have muscle. I also only have this much time. And they also maybe have more cardiovascular endurance based goals. I don't need to build endurance and stamina. I can go forever. Okay. For some women, their goal is that. So that would be a better fit for them. And this is a thing of like how you take the information that's out there and you distill it down to be able to choose, well, what's best for me? Last year or actually it wasn't even it was last year, it was 2025, but in June, I was teaching Ignite, and one of our women inside of there, Benedicte, I don't know if she's in here. She's one of our synced members as well. Okay. She has a small, strong frame, and she was starting to lose weight inside of Ignite, eating the same amount she had been eating, us just training her training formula. And I had to keep adding calories and I had to keep increasing her food in order for her to be able to first maintain her weight. And then we had to put her in a surplus in order for her to build the muscle. And she is strong as shit. Okay. So it wasn't about her like gaining fat. She wasn't gaining fat. She was building muscle and building strength. But if you're also trying to train in a certain way and you are not eating enough, your metabolic health and your metabolism will start to adapt by slowing down. So if you're the woman that is always living in that caloric deficit, you're like 1,200 calories, maybe 1,300 calories, and you there's no tempo and rhythm for your body, and you don't have enough. There's a minimum that you need to actually keep brain function going, cardiovascular health, to build your bones, to keep the thyroid functioning, to keep your body has to also, there's a resiliency bank. And you have to have enough food and nourishment in your body that you have a resiliency bank that if you get sick, things go sideways, life happens, big stress happens, carpet is pulled out from underneath you, your body has the resources to respond to that demand. So your hair can still grow, your skin can still heal, all of those things. Cognitively, you can stay sharp. Many, many women who say, I don't have energy, my hair's falling out, this and that. When I have a conversation with them and I ask deeper questions, I understand it's like, not only do you have this stress happening in your life, you are living in a chronic state of depletion. And it looks like you're doing the right thing because what you are eating are healthy food choices. Most women are actually eating healthy food choices, but they're either not eating enough or there's no consistency. So what's not true is saying, like what I just said right there. Some women aren't losing weight because they're not eating enough. If you had a woman who wasn't eating enough across the board, okay, like let's say she was doing 1,000 calories a day, she is going to lose weight because that's literally starvation. But that's not what most women are doing. What most women are doing is they're combining low calorie days, high calorie couple of days, over fasting, not fasting, constantly trying to like create this rigidity and this kind of control without feeling like they're sacrificing foods they enjoy, going out for dinner, socializing, all of those things. So the reason that your body's not responding is it's a bit of a hot mess. You're trying to apply so many different things. There's no consistency. Our way of thinking is we have to be perfect. We have to nail our protein, our carbs, our fat, and our fiber perfectly every day to get the results. No, you don't. You have to be consistent, which means you're consistently trying to hit certain metrics. And a metric is actually awareness. If you have no idea what you're actually eating in a day, I'm going to give you an example of my husband. My husband said to me a couple of weeks ago, I think I should start tracking. I want to shift my composition a little bit. And I was like, okay. And I've long said to my husband, you need to start tracking because my husband follows the seafood diet. He sees food and he eats it. He does not portion things. He doesn't really, seemingly gain weight. Okay. But his composition has been changing. So all I said to him is, you're just going to track, just for notice. And the other day he said to me, wow, I have been consuming a lot of fat and a lot of carbohydrates and not nearly enough protein. This is the average human's kind of dilemma, right? Is what we don't track, we don't understand. How can you go online and do an online calculator telling you how many calories and your macros that you should eat if you don't even know what you're doing right now? So, step number one is get really curious and study your personal habits and just go track for a week. Go download my Fitness Pal for free. There's a whole bunch online now. I don't have affiliation with my Fitness Pal. Just start to track. Don't change your eating habits though, because then it's not true. So, just eat how you would normally eat and track it and track everything. Track what you drink, track what you eat, track what you lick. Like just track all of the things. So now you know, right? Now you know. Now it's like when we have women who come into our programs, if they're able to say to me, this is currently actually like these amount of grams of protein I get, this is how much fiber I'm getting, fat and all of that. I only have to ask her a few questions to get closer to telling her what her actual starting place probably should be. And then the key is when you're given any type of suggestion, you have to stay with it long enough. You got to stay with it when it's boring. You got to stay with it when it's mundane. You got to stay with it when you don't feel excited by it anymore. You have to stay with it when it's neutral. The problem for most women is you stop before there was any opportunity of the change happening because it didn't happen fast enough. Didn't happen in 10 days, didn't happen in 30 days, right? I've been working on building muscle literally my entire life. When will that end? Never. Never. You get one body. You get one body. So you also have to stop having this approach. Like we might teach and nurture you through a phase where it's like we get you to maintenance of your calories and the intake your body requires. How do we know you're eating enough? You sleep incredible. Your energy is great. Your performance is good. Your recovery is fantastic. Your hair is not falling out. Your nails are growing. You feel satiated. You have great poops. These are all great ways to know, that you have manageable periods. This is part of it. If you're not consuming enough or the right quality and types of foods and those kinds of things, you will notice the opposite of everything I just said. Crappy sleep, hair thinning and falling out, nails don't look so great, you don't have energy, you have constant brain fog. You notice, digestion is not awesome. Women who don't eat enough, historically, lots of constipation that's going on. There's not enough in there to help support motility. All these different things. And when we're also not eating enough, if you tend to be the woman who has anxiety, depression, unstable blood sugar, mood swings all over the place, that approach of having this chaotic relationship with food and I'm in, I'm out, I'm in, I'm out is perpetuating how you're feeling. And you will also have like a well-fed woman should not have uncontrollable cravings. If you have uncontrollable cravings, that means there's a level of support that needs to be explored there. And sometimes it's because there's unstable blood sugar. Sometimes it's because we've been conditioned that when we're sad, the treat will rescue us. We had a good day, go celebrate with the treat, right? Like a lot of people grew up with that environment with alcohol. The wine isn't necessarily something, you need, but it's something you need, right? You need it because you're trying to not feel a certain way or feel more of a certain way. Celebration, have a glass. Commiseration, have a glass. 5 o'clock, have a glass. Someone else is doing it, have a glass. It's in the fridge, have a glass. It's also partly recognizing what some of our triggers are, right? So it's a big, big piece of it. So that metabolic health, we want to make sure that we're thinking about whole body. So if we eat less, we train harder, all we do is prefer the cardio, 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 and we just keep stacking stress on top of stress. Your body's not going to burn more fat effectively. It'll conserve energy. And that's not failure. It's your biology doing its job. And you're also making it quite difficult to build muscle. You keep pattern interrupting. And so when we have weight that feels like puff, we have, fat that feels more inflamed. And this is like literally what women will say so often. It doesn't feel like fat. It feels like swelling, like I feel swollen. I feel puffy. I feel inflamed, and it feels tight around my waist. And that's a big one to also note about your body, is that if you start to notice you have a hard, tight, expanding waistline, it's not like, juicy fat that we can like grab and move around. It is solid. I think it's important that you either join a program or you work with someone one-to-one to work on that, because that is a risk factor. That is a risk factor. And if you have that hard excess abdominal belly fat combined with poor lymphatic drainage in your body, you get swelling in through that. You take your socks off and your pants off and you see the impressions and the lines. You don't have healthy bowel movements. Your energy is just like not there. You're not sleeping well. These are cues from your body that is asking you to get your metabolic health in check. And so maybe your first goal in the beginning, it's not about like building the muscle, and losing the fat. Those will be the things that happen as a result of what you're doing. But it's like getting into a rhythm and a routine that's going to support you. That stubborn midsection belly fat, it is more often than not driven by some of the hormonal changes I talked about. Remember, you can't just say like menopause is why you're gaining weight. It's not just about the estrogen and the progesterone. DHEA, which is produced in your adrenals, has a big part of this. And that is not declining because of hormones that are happening otherwise. That is declining because the compounding interest of stress over time. That is compounding because of where we are overdoing it or not, kind of doing enough in that way. Insulin is a fat storing hormone. It has a massive impact on what's happening around your waist. Cortisol. We should not be living in a chronic stress response. Cortisol is not something you're trying to thump down. You have to be really, really careful with this, ladies. The amount of women who are coming into our programs and our practice in the last, I'd say specifically this last year, who have been given supplements and products to lower their cortisol without that practitioner looking at the full picture. Most women aren't in a state 40s and beyond where their cortisol is through the roof. The way your body is responding and trying to metabolize the cortisol might be giving the illumination like that's what's happening, but it's not. And then you tack on the woman who is feeling the stress, who also smokes or vapes. The research studies around vape right now that are coming out are massively concerning for so many reasons, but it takes a direct hit on your adrenals, specifically in the adrenal medulla and the cortex, on your ability to produce and regulate cortisol. So that individual who doesn't have a healthy stress response, vape also suppresses your body's natural response of serotonin and dopamine. So do cigarettes. Any kind of stimulant you're using, you're thumping it down, you're thumping it down, you're thumping it down. And then the body is like, I need these neurotransmitters, serotonin and dopamine, to survive. I also need touch and connection through oxytocin. If you're not getting it, and then you're going to constantly search. And that's where it's like you need to go get another hit. What's your hit of choice? Is it the high intensity exercise? Is it the treat? So paying attention, understanding. You go to a practitioner and you're not honest and open about a lot of these things, and we start to go and give you stuff like cortisol suppressant when we don't understand the full picture. This is when you can get your body in trouble. Okay. Inflammation. This is another one. You can actually be inflamed from underfueling. If you're underfueling and overtraining, that's an inflamed body. And it's not always going to show up like swelling. It'll show up as absolutely zero energy, sore all the time. Every time you try to work out, you feel like you're getting sick. Your immune system is not awesome. You just feel like you're chronically just trying to like hold it together and manage. Okay. And so things you might notice in your body, other than what I said, is water retention, a lot of water retention. You don't really like mobilize fat in your body well. And I don't just mean like breaking it down digestion wise. I mean that your body tends to like hold it in certain areas as opposed to when our bodies are, gaining fat or holding fat evenly distributed. And then also in these situations, you're increasing muscle breakdown. So what's really difficult sometimes, and I'm always teaching this inside of Synced and in my live classes, is I will always say, you need to make sure you go and eat now. Coffee is not a meal. Fasting is not appropriate after you've gone and done your training. If we want to actually preserve muscle and build muscle, muscle requires fuel. It requires nutrients. And so if your habit is you train hard, but then you don't eat, right? A lot of women who are trying to build muscle right now and change their body composition, they most likely need to actually eat something before they go and do that hard strength training session. And it could be like a half a banana and a little bit of nut butter. It could be like sipping on a shake, like a naked shake, not a lot of food, because we don't want to have a ton to digest and break down, but just a little bit so that you've got some fresh glucose from, like, let's just say that piece of fruit in the body that then the body's going to be able to utilize as glycogen in the muscles and in the liver. These are all the tiny little shifts that when I teach women these little things to do and they actually do them, they're like, I can't believe how much more I can lift, how much better I feel. I'm not sore after because I started to have that small snack before I went and did my training. This isn't changing your whole habit and routine in life. It is a small thing. Right? So it's like the micro changes you make consistently over time are what contribute to the macro goals that you have. And I don't mean macro like food, I mean macro like life. Right? Like I don't know about you here, but the older that I get, my goals and perspective changes. Obviously, I want to look good and feel good in my body, but like I want a body that can keep going in the right kind of way. I want to be as strong and resilient as possible. I have watched more people in my life because of the industry that I'm in literally fall apart for reasons they did not see coming because they weren't truly taking care of themselves. And as women, we are oftentimes like, you're the giver. You come last. And then when you do take the time to take care of yourself, you kind of fall into one of two categories. Like not really pushing, not really doing enough to create a stimulus, but like I did it. And then the other side of it, which is like you actually don't know how to pull back. And then you use things like exercise and food as either punishment or reward. Most women do not know how to live in neutral. I did a good job, so I'm going to go have this. Ugh, I did not. I drank too much last night. I went out to the restaurant. I ate the fries with the burger. I didn't get the lettuce bun. I'm not going to eat a lot today. Punishment or reward? And we've been taught this. This is how you've been groomed. The discipline that you're going to require this year is the discipline to make a decision. It's not going to be about, you have to fucking decide to do something different and make one decision and just stick to it. You're also complicating it because you're trying to do a million different things. Shiny, 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 maybe this, maybe that. Nope. Same response. Do it. Just stick to it. The one thing. Okay? The one thing. All right? When you look at your workouts, why for so many women the workouts stop working is that this is a really big one I want you to understand. Burning calories is not the same as building a metabolic engine. Okay? Always choosing, and these workouts I'm saying, these are not bad workouts. So just listen to what I'm saying. Always choosing high intensity, high volume, calorie burning, chasing workouts. They burn energy in the moment, but they don't improve long-term fat burning. And they often increase cortisol in women who are already underfueled and undersupported. We know muscle is the organ of not just longevity, but the origin of metabolic health in so many ways. And if you're not doing training that is properly stimulating muscle growth, which proper stimulation actually means you are creating injury to the muscle. The muscle actually, there's friction, okay, for a better lack of a term, and you're tearing muscle fibers in the training. That is the stimulus. And then what you eat and how you recover, and things like supplementation. Okay. So, like creatine, fantastic. The whole thing with creatine right now, I'm like, I've been using creatine since I was 19. Okay. That was just like a staple in the gyms when I was growing up. And so creatine is fantastic for performance. It's amazing for recovery. It is fantastic for your cognition. As we age, we are producing less and less and less of many of the things we need in our body, and creatine is one of them. Okay. And so adding creatine into your water when you're training, or into your shake after, like I have half my shake I have to finish still because I taught training, and I actually have my creatine down here with me. This is mine that I use. This is from Within Us. I like this one because there is creatine and collagen in here. So because I just did strength training, I taught my class, I created stress. I tore things down. The collagen helps on the gut lining. It also helps tendons and ligaments. And then the creatine is helping in terms of that muscle piece and connection. Okay. And I love this company, and I love when we can utilize things where there are those combinations in there that are creating that level of support. But you have to stimulate the muscle enough. Then you have to allow for the recovery. And this is what's going to improve your strength and your power over time. Okay. If we don't do any of those things, your body has no reason to change. So for a long time, I would notice women when I was working solely in gyms, and not just women, men too. The men actually might have been worse at this than the women. They'd go in, they would like 15, 15, 15, shh, drop it down, go and do something else. Okay. Go on the machines. Just like, and you'd hear clank, 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 working out. They were working out. They were going to the gym. They were doing the thing. Awesome. And not very effective. Slow down. It, other than breathing, it is most likely the number one cue I give again and again in my classes. Slow down. Slow down to really feel. Slow down to have proper form. If you don't have form and technique, you're also not going to get results. A lot of people, they go shallow. You lunge and you like lunge partway down. You don't go full depth. You have a story, or you've been told by people, your knees shouldn't bend that way. Your ankles don't do that. Your hips don't do that. That's bullshit. Okay. Unless you've had actual true injury. And I would still challenge that, because as somebody who's a medical exercise specialist for 12 years and worked in post rehab and worked with professional athletes, I'm going to tell you the body is incredible. And there are many things you can heal back from. And if as a woman, you are avoiding ankle flexion, knee flexion and extension, hip flexion and extension, you are increasing your risk for injury. And God forbid something happens, if you fall or you get injured, your recovery is going to be a million times harder because you weren't training your body day to day. You were not bending and flexing and moving in the way that we are designed to move. Okay. So strength training, you have to look at through a totally different lens. You are never going to get bulky strength training. I can literally guarantee you that with everything I own. You are not going to get bulky because you started to strength train. You can feel like you're being bulky because maybe you're inflamed, your nutrition is not on point, and that's where you need that support. But strength training will never make you bulky as a woman, okay? But what it will do is it's going to increase your insulin sensitivity. So instead of cutting all of your carbohydrates out, how about we actually look at the quality of them? We bring in some habits like building muscle, which will allow you to continue to eat carbohydrates without it causing these massive glucose and insulin swings. It also improves your glucose storage. So instead of, if you're going and eating, carbohydrate and glucose rich foods, and then the body is just sitting and not doing anything, and there's no muscle. Muscle is a sponge for glucose and insulin. It's going to pull it and draw it and use it. And also for your brain, for energy. So when you carbohydrate restrict, number one, you don't have the energy, you don't have the performance, right? When you over carbohydrate an under muscled body, your body is going to store a lot of that as excess and it will store it as fat. When we have enough carbohydrates and when we have enough muscle on the body, it lowers systemic inflammation overall. When you have enough muscle on your body, this is where the shape of your body changes. Okay. So really the goal for a lot of women is some of them, they're like, I don't even care if I weigh the same, but if I could just see the shape of my body change, if my waist could actually reduce some of the puffiness and I drop a few inches around my waist, if my clothes can just fit better, I'd like to just feel better in my clothes that are in my closet. That's an incredible goal to have. And the more muscle you have on your frame, you will raise your body's resting metabolic rate. If you do the opposite and you keep lowering your calories, you are lowering your basal metabolic rate, which means the amount of calories that your body requires function. If you keep turning the dial down, down, and down, like the women who are stuck at like 14, 13, 1200 calories, then your body gets this point where it adapts to that. And then change stops happening. So then what do women do? Well, I'll go into a deficit. I'll consume less. And then that might work for a bit. And then the body stops responding. The brain says, then just keep taking away. If we want to lose weight, this is a game of subtraction. I am here to tell you that that is not true. This is actually a game of addition. It's adding certain things in. It's understanding the food as a whole. There's times for women where we are going to put them into a deficit, but we're going to actually get them to a point where they're eating enough first. They can feel what that feels like in their body. And then you do a safe deficit. You don't strip 500 calories off of someone's daily intake right away. That's ridiculous, especially for women. It doesn't work well. And there are a lot of people, they will do that. They will do it for extremes. I have been in the fitness competitor world. I did 3 competitions myself. The difference, what I learned from my first time stepping on stage to my final time and surrounding myself with different people was astronomical. Some of the most beautiful bodies you see out in the world are the unhealthiest. And it's a hard pill to swallow as a woman because you're like, but if I could look like that, I don't care what my health is. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Okay. So we want to help you build muscle inside of everything we teach here. So you can eat more food. You can have better carbohydrate toleration. We can help to support your hormones. And this is how you actually are able to stay leaner without restriction. If you want to have a lean body, which means you have more muscle you're building as we reduce your body fat over time, and you feel like you have a lean, toned body, this is what we need to do. Because cardio is going to burn calories, but muscle will change how your body is using your energy, and muscle will change the shape of your body. Okay. So I teach this all the time inside of Synced. I teach this in Ignite, which starts on Monday. When you're inside of Ignite, which is an 8-week metabolic repair program that I teach you live for 8 weeks and I teach you how to be set up for 6 months. You also get a live membership to Synced when you're inside of Ignite. You get the live membership for the 8 weeks. You have a workout calendar to use for the next 6 months. Those of you that are already in Synced who are in here, you can reach out to us because you get a discount code. And I will tell you the other thing, anytime you join any of my programs, you're never going to pay full price for that program again. So if you come in now in January, and I'm setting you up for what you need to do until June when we run Ignite again, when you come back into Ignite in June, you're never paying full price again. Right? It's important to me that you don't just have a system to follow. You understand how to make this progressive and build on it over time. Okay. So what do you need in your body to actually burn fat and build the muscle? Well, we've already discussed this. You need to have fuel. You can't starve yourself. Now, what does the breakdown look like? For most women, I would say in the beginning, if you can consume, okay, about 30% of your total calories you're taking in a day from protein. Everybody knows right now to build protein, right? Like there's been a flipping cottage cheese storage in the last year. Like that's ridiculous. Okay. We all know at this point we need to get protein in. Where it can get tricky for women is when you're trying to chase protein by the end of the day. So sometimes what can feel more successful is if you do this meal by meal. So instead of saying to myself, I have to get in 120 grams of protein in a day. Okay. If we're going to have you eat 4 times in a day, breakfast, lunch, a snack, and dinner. If we divide 120 by 4, that's 30 grams of protein at each of those meals. So 30 grams at breakfast, 30 at lunch, 30 for an afternoon snack, and 30, that's your 120 grams. Having a target helps you move towards it. If you don't hit the 120, I guarantee you, if your goal is 120, you're probably going to hit at least 100, which is probably more than what you've been doing for yourself right now. And that's going to prevent losing muscle during a fat loss phase. It's going to make sure you're repairing and building the muscle that you're after, and it's going to support satiety and blood sugar stability. Your cravings will be gone. Like, this is the other thing I can promise you. When you actually start to, eat in the way that I am talking about, you will no longer feel like you are, under attack by your cravings. Carbohydrates should bring you about 40% of your daily intake. So if we were to think about this through the lens of, say, like you're eating 1,800 calories a day, okay? And this will be different for everyone, and I don't know all of your bodies in here, so I can't say to you, all of you should be eating 1,800 calories. What I will say is, if we use that as a framework, 30% of that 1,800, okay, would come from your protein, 40% from your carbohydrates, and 30% from fat. The carbohydrate piece is always what scares women because they believe that carbs are what make them fat. It is, it is not. I have spent my entire career walking women off the ledge of them understanding that, like, you're more afraid to go and eat rice, but you think the wine is okay. You're more afraid to go over here and eat this, but you think this is okay. Like, it's so crazy how we have been literally mentally abused in terms of what is okay and what is not. Those carbohydrates are fueling your training. Those carbohydrates are actually going to help to modulate your cortisol. Those carbohydrates are protecting your lean mass. Those carbohydrates, ladies, are what are supporting your thyroid and your nervous system function. So we have lots of women that reach out in our community who have Hashimoto's or who are on Synthroid. They have a thyroid issue. And they're like, how do I make this work for me? Like, well, we got to bring in what someone taught you to take out, which are the carbohydrates. And then we have 30% of your fat intake. And your fat is essential for hormone production. The other big change for women that they will see when they are in, closer to menopause, sometimes in peri, we see it change. I find that when the FSH starts to climb, your follicular stimulating hormone, which means you have much less ovarian reserve and you are getting closer to actual menopause, we start to see the lipid profile change, cholesterol changes. And people freak out over elevated cholesterol. Working with a practitioner who understands blood chemistry, understands the multiple factors to look at, is very important because you can quickly be thrown on a statin as a woman because you have high cholesterol when that may not be the first intervention that is needed. I'm not saying it may never be needed, but it's rarely the first one. And so it's looking at fiber intake. Fiber, which should be about 25 to 30 grams a day, fiber is going to help to bind to that and help to support healthy cholesterol. Fiber is going to improve your insulin sensitivity. So when we have naked carbs, right, like cookies, rice cakes, cereal, all of those things, that's not a good source of a complex carbohydrate. There's really nothing in it other than carbohydrate. They're very low in fiber. When we bring something in like squash, potatoes, parsnips, carrots, beautiful fruits that have carbohydrates, but they have fiber, your body completely responds differently to that. And we also have to understand that that fiber is supporting your gut health and your estrogen clearance. A lot of women who end up with all of these symptoms in menopause, it's because beta-glucuronidase, an enzyme in the gut, has increased because there's not enough fiber and there's not enough essential good bacteria in the gut to help to clear it. So it is backing up upstream. And now you end up with mood swings, weight gain, breast tenderness, headaches, low energy, sometimes even acne for the first time in your life. And it becomes very pro-inflammatory. Getting your fiber in is important. Now, here's the kicker for women, when you're at a certain stage is raw fiber is probably not going to feel good anymore. Raw salads, raw veggies, all of those things, you're going to have to roast and saute and cook them so it's easier to digest. You probably need a digestive enzyme, right, to be able to bring in. So all of these different things that are going to make up what your macronutrients are, you have to understand this. Macros are not diet culture. They're physiology. What I'm not a fan of are plans that are simply if it fits your macros. Here's your numbers, just put whatever in there. Who cares if there's junk in it and artificial crap? It doesn't matter. As long as you hit the numbers, like you could change your body shape and you could lose weight doing that, but we have a whole health system that we want to be taking care of, okay? So my first tip around the macros, track what you're doing without changing anything. Study your personal habits. Know where you're currently at. So it's like if you came to work with us, you came inside of Ignite, we are going to be able to say to you, Beth, Sally, this is actually what feels like it would be good for you to start with from that macronutrient base, based on what you've been tracking and what we know are your normal habits, and based on what your goals are. Okay. Start meal to meal. Don't overwhelm yourself by day to day. Can you simply start to like look at your breakfast? And if you need ideas, I don't know if you've heard of this thing called the internet. Um, all you literally have to do is ask the internet, what are great protein sources? Don't ask what are good breakfast protein sources. Stop labeling food like this can only be breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I eat chicken for breakfast all the time, beef for breakfast. Like you're just looking for where can you get it in. All right. So protein centric, we want to try and bring the protein in first, bring in the carbohydrates. I do get a little bit more advanced in teaching this inside of Ignite about carbohydrate timing. And so again, this would be really specific. Those of you right now where you're like, I got to do something for my health. The nutrient timing piece is not going to matter as much as those of you who are like, I'm going to build this year. I'm going to shift this composition. Then I really teach you at a higher level about nutrient timing. I don't want to confuse some of you today by going that deep. You have to prep, okay? Like prepping your food is not you being rigid. It's actually how you create liberation and food freedom. When you prep ahead of time, you reduce decision fatigue. I can always tell by the comments that come into me on Instagram when I share something that I eat, what triggers a woman. And it's never the food that I'm eating. The thing that triggers women the most, and they will literally say things to me like, must be nice for you to be at home and work from home to make your lunch. What do I do if I can't do that? And I'm like, hi, namaste. How are you? What I'm really hearing when I read that comment is, I wish I had, I wish I was making the time to prep that food ahead. I wish I had what feels like the luxury to sit down and chew because I'm go, go, go. And my husband and I used to live that life. My husband used to have a 3 hour commute, okay, every single day. Gone before the kids were up, maybe got home when we were sitting down to dinner. I was chasing my paycheck for the first 3 quarters of my career. This has only really been our reality for the last 5 years. And we had to actually have discipline and create the opportunity to understand that it was more advantageous to spend a couple hours on the weekend grilling, roasting, preparing the food than it was to stand in front of the fridge every single night and be like, I'm too tired to make anything that's in here. There's nothing that's already made. And those are decisions that you have to make. You have to decide that that is worth your time. Is your health worth your time? Because if you own one of these and you tell me you don't have time to go do the thing, I'm going to call bullshit every day of the week. I know how much time I waste on this, and I don't even spend a lot of time on this, but I can tell you it's at least 2 hours a day. Do you know how long it would take you to prep your food? Half that amount of time. So again, it's like we have to be okay. And sometimes we don't like the suggestion that we're given. Sometimes, again, it like whatever triggers you, there is something in that for you. I know that for me all the time. If someone says something and I'm like, instead of me being like, I'm like, oh, instead of going like this and be like that person, that thing, I go, whoa, why? Why is that making me feel that way? Okay. So very, very, very important. Prepping is big. Also, PS, don't go grocery shopping when you're hungry. If you're starving when you go to the grocery store, go buy yourself a bar, go buy something and eat that while you're shopping. Okay, so this is another really important thing here. Okay, so we're 75 minutes today. We have 16 minutes left. We're gonna dial this in. I'm gonna open up the floor for questions in a minute. Do not quit when you're in what I said to you before is the neutral zone. The neutral zone is where you're bored, where it doesn't feel exciting anymore, and where you really think nothing is working. The neutral zone is the phase where the results are slow, your motivation dips, and when that excitement phase, your brain's going to go look for something new. Because again, dopamine. You need a little high. You need something. This is why people get excited about new plan, new year, new thing. But I would just like to ask you, how many new plans have you tried? How many new approaches? How many new like I said to you at the beginning, my hope for you this year is that stops. Like you find something and that's your thing. And you create a root system. You create a root system. You can't go plant the seeds and then in 2 weeks be like, ah, shit, nothing's growing out there. Ah, I'm just going to go plant some other seeds. And then all of a sudden everything starts to grow and you're like, oh my God, I don't even know what I put in that ground. Everybody is doing this and no one's allowing a root system to happen. You're not plugging in and staying there long enough. This is the most important moment to recognize when it happens to you is the neutral, unexciting, boring, I'm out of here zone. Because when you leave this zone and you stop what you've been doing and you start doing something else, you're missing where the muscle's being built. You're missing the fact that your insulin sensitivity was starting to improve. You're missing that you're creating more stability in key hormones. You are missing that metabolic repair is happening. Oftentimes, and it's like, here's the thing as well, too. Maybe you're not seeing the scale drop, which I think the scale is not a great metric. Maybe you're not seeing the inches change. Maybe you're not, but are you gaining? Like, are things getting worse or are they just staying neutral? This is where 90% of women are going to quit. And the reality is, the reason why it feels like you only see X amount is that those are the stats 90-10. 90% will quit, 10% will stay in. And the women who get the results are the one who commit to staying. 1% every day. 1% every day could be that you just have a great breakfast. Maybe lunch and dinner aren't awesome, but you're like, one of my meals, really good. Because the reality is, if you start your day off good or you have a great lunch, you're going to have less cravings in the afternoon. You'll choose a little bit better as the day goes on. 1% I talked about inside of my class I taught this morning, a strength training class. 1% is when you're doing a workout and it's really uncomfortable and you don't stop because it's uncomfortable. 1% is when you have one set left and instead of saying to yourself, it's just one set, I'm not going to do it, you finish the one set that you have left. 1% is not getting down on yourself when you just didn't have a good day or a good week or a good month. 1% is going to bed 15 minutes earlier. 1% is drinking another glass of water. 1% is taking your magnesium, which I also have here. I have stations all around my house and I have a station where I work. And within us is my magnesium that I use. I'll just show you because we're here. My Rehydrate, my electrolyte of choice. I love this company. I do have discounts with them in my reel if you're looking to order. They're Canadian based. So for all my Canadian ladies, they are my favorite. I think Jenn Pike 20 is my code. But I just want to say you're shortchanging yourself because you feel like you're missing 99% and you're not celebrating the 1%. Just imagine if you stopped stopping. Like, have you ever made that your challenge for yourself? I'm going to stop stopping. Not I'm going to be perfect. I'm not perfect. I don't knock it out of the park every day. I also have so much grace for myself and understanding that I work, I have a family, I have a house. I just don't feel like being 100% all the time. And because there's that level of grace, I'm not unkind to myself. I don't move between this place of then having to punish myself because I wasn't 100% and then reward myself because I did have a good day. Our relationship with how we're taking care of our health sometimes is more important to understand than the actual thing you're doing and you're not doing. So where's the 1% for you in your life where you're like, I'm not going to stop, right? Sometimes the 1% is something you do need to stop, right? 1% are great examples. I tend to be so hard on myself, and the self-compassion is needed. 1,000%. 1,000%. DEXA scan after 4 months of strength training, 4 days a week, showed I was high in the upper right of the chart, high muscle, but also high fat. What to tweak? That's probably more of like what you're consuming. And also more time, because that's only 4 months. You literally probably to make the big changes, I say to women, you're looking at like a minimum of 9 to 12 months and typically years And women don't want to hear that response either. You need more time. It's only been 4 months. Do that 3 more times and then go back and do your results again. Okay. Really important. You don't need perfect days. You need repeatable ones. Remember that. Consistency, all consistency means is you return to the plan. You go anchored back to the goal. You don't make, one-off days a reason to stop, right? And you stay the course. Yeah, inside of Ignite, we do. I don't just give you macros, I teach you how to live them. I give you full training programs in there. Over those 8 weeks, I am teaching you all of this on a deeper level, plus your hormones, plus. Like the whole goal is you come out at the end of the 8 weeks, you know everything that I'm talking about at a level where you can explain this to another woman in your life, maybe to your kids, to your partner, like you know it on an intimate level, and you are able to apply it to your own body. Right? You understand how to structure meals. You know the strategy. We can't be willy-nilly about this. So it's not about being perfect, but you do have to have a strategy, and how do you adjust without panic? Like when we hit the panic button, we never make good decisions. So you have to know how to stay consistent in real life. There's a lot of things that are going to happen. There's a lot of things that are going to happen over the course of this year. I traveled a ton. I was on a speaking tour. We almost lost my dad twice in July. We moved. We had things happening with our kid. We had so much that was going on. And that was not an opportunity to punish myself or reward myself. It was an opportunity to just go, what can I do today? And I have had some clients I've been working with since I was 19 who are still doing the 1% every single day. And when I look at these women now, and more importantly, when I talk to these women, they are a completely different version of themselves because they never gave up on the 1%. And then I have clients I've worked with who show up and they're like, I'm 100% in, I'm dialed, I'm this, I'm that. And we spend our entire time coaching together, trying to walk them off the ledge of being 100% perfect. And some of those women never hit their goals because they can't get over the fact that they're not doing it right. But they're not listening to the right formula. They're listening to the story and the version of themselves of what is right, because when they look in the mirror, it's not matching exactly what they want to see. Okay. So I'm going to open the floor for about 15, 20 minutes of questions. Okay. And go into that. I'm also going to let you know that we begin on Monday inside of Ignite. If you're inside of Synced, you get the discount code. If you are someone who is not in Synced, you come into Ignite and you get Synced. And it is that the code the women in Synced are getting to save is like the equivalent of what you are getting coming inside of Synced. So I have an entire workout calendar for you that is all video based. You can do in your own time. It doesn't matter joining me live. It's all set there. Beginner and intermediate and advanced. There's 3 phases I take you through over the 8 weeks and then teach you how to take the 3 phases in terms of there are meal plans. So we give meal plans because I know some people, they really like a plan, but I also want to teach you macros so that you never have to follow a meal plan again. Okay. I'm very committed to that process for women. We have omnivore plans. We have plant-based. We have tons of recipes. This time of year, when you're doing this in the winter, we are incorporating more warming foods, warming spices, because it's not summer. If you live somewhere where it's summer, you may lean more into raw and more cooling. We're doing more warming, and you will learn everything you need to know about your hormones, how to support this throughout perimenopause, menopause, and post. Okay. What happens when life gets lifey? There's a whole supplement guide. There's a whole equipment guide, all of that. And you get access to this moving forward. So inside, you get that access that you can come back to because you will need to come back to the information. You will need to come back to the information. Okay. You can't like heard it once and then that's it. I've got it. And we'll send this out in the recording and we'll send the link that's out there. And if you have any questions, just let me know. I will tell you. The quickest way, when I say quick, I'm not going to get back to you like right away, but Instagram is where I do spend time. And typically I'll voice note you back. Now I cannot tell you, like, I can't give you specifics for you. You can't reach out to me on Instagram and go, can you tell me my macros? No, I can't. But I can answer questions that you have in terms of how it relates to either Ignite, Synced, or programs that we run. All right, I'm going to open the floor. Are RX bars a healthy protein snack? They are. They're good, but they also are higher in fat and carbohydrates. So an RX bar, we use RX bars. You can buy them at Costco in bulk. Very clean ingredients, very minimal ingredients. That to me is fast food. So an RX bar is like healthy fast food on the go. It's finding good quality bars is really tricky. If you find a high protein bar, it usually has aspartame or sucralose or artificial something, because it's typically high protein, low carb, and to make it not taste like cardboard, there's got to be some of those things in there. Is there an alternative to joining Ignite? You can work one-on-one with Christine in our company. So Christine is our master macro coach and does also virtual training. We have like a program that's called Recomp, and it's specifically for women who want to really dial that in. And so that's one-to-one. And you could work with Christine. So when we send you the recording out, you can reply that you're interested in working with Christine, and we can send you the details back on that. Basic supplements that are needed for your body. When we're talking grassroots basics, again, I would say magnesium. I don't care who you are, what you do, and what your goal is, you need to be taking magnesium every day. I really like the Within Us because it also has L-threonate. There's different forms of magnesium. So I have three favorite: bisglycinate, citrate, and threonate. They have done a beautiful job at creating a combination. And this is great for sleep and for bowels, for muscle recovery, cognition, and health overall. So, and it's a powder, it's simple with some warm water, in the evening just after dinner is really good. Creatine, I think, is very important for women to have. And omega-3 is also, I think, really important from a cellular health level, as well as recovery, brain, hair, skin, and nails. I am also a huge fan of electrolytes for women. So I showed you that I use the Rehydrate. I like this one from Within Us because it's not super high sodium and it has enough potassium. For a lot of women, when we are running labs, their blood work, or we're looking at hair, we tend to see that the sodium potassium ratio is way out of skewed. If your sodium and potassium is not in balance, nor your calcium and your magnesium, you will definitely have adrenal and thyroid issues. When we test women's hair, we are actually able to see different ratios where we can see if there's a calcium shell, it's not getting into the body, and if there's not enough potassium. You can have blood work for your thyroid that shows your thyroid is quote unquote fine, but in the cells, you have degradation of the thyroid happening. Electrolytes will help that. I also believe when you're doing true strength training and workouts, you shouldn't be drinking plain water. You need something. Okay. Really important for that. Vitamin D. Vitamin D is one of those things. If you had talked to me years ago, I would have said everybody needs it and everybody needs X amounts. The more we're learning about vitamin D and just how much some people are taking, I would say typically 1,000 to 2,000 international units, depending on where you live, is good. But that's one where I actually do recommend now you work with someone and go and get proper testing done to figure it out. I think that, for me, adaptogens. So I use mushrooms, functional mushrooms as adaptogens. So Lion's Mane, Reishi, Aversio Wellness is the company that I love the most. Those are some of, to me, the most basic. And then for those of you who are trying to build muscle, I do think a good protein powder. It's fast food. I have, 35, let me stir that. That doesn't look good. I have 35 grams of protein in here because I have a scoop and a half of my Genuine Health protein powder that is in here, and then my creatine is also in here. So protein powders make things like smoothies amped up, and it is quick, fast food on the go. So I do love that. Okay, this is interesting. These are hair questions. Not really what I'm going with on this. Um, when I shower, do I rinse or use soap? So I actually, this is like a totally another topic, but I don't really use a lot of soap. I'll be honest. Soap is what strips all the good bacteria on your skin. And when you're washing your hair, you have what you're washing your hair with, which is why organic shampoos and clean products are important. It's rinsing your body. So I don't. I also will tell you that as women, as you get older and your hormones change, your pheromones are part of that. And you might notice you have BO for the first time in your life. Be very careful of the soap and the body wash you're using. All the perfumes and even essential oils that you are like putting in this area, they will have a natural chemical reaction with your own smell, and that could be giving you the BO. So oftentimes just like rinsing with water. I only wash my hair like twice a week. And do I use dry shampoo? Yes, I do, from Joyous Health. My girlfriend, Joy McCarthy. I also have a discount code for that. I think it's Jenn Pike 10. Fantastic. I have dry shampoo in it right now because I just sweat my ass off in best butt ever before we came in here. Um, if I can help you organize this, you just held me at ransom. If I can help you with the hair, you're going to sign up for Ignite. And these are also things like we do actually talk about this kind of stuff. We talk about body care inside of Instinct, like what that, or inside of Ignite, and like what that actually means on that level, because products you use, they have a huge impact on your hormones. There are studies now that are showing some women who cannot lose some of that fat. And when they go in and they actually biopsy some of the adipose tissue, the fat tissue, it's full of plastic. It is full of literally plastic from all the products we're using, all the microplastics, all the junk, the chemicals. There's a toxic load, and fat is where your body stores toxins. It is where your body stores toxins. So it is also important that we are liberating that fat and we are liberating the toxicity. This is also why pooping is so important. You don't go detoxify a body that doesn't properly eliminate. This is also why exercise matters because it's a pump for your lymph system to keep things flowing. During your cycle, you don't feel a difference in your energy and find it hard to slow down in your menstrual phase. You don't have to slow down. So here's the thing is that, it is, I mean, I've taught a ton about cyclical living over the years. That's how Synced began. You don't have to do nothing on your period. You have to listen to your body. So if you find that your energy is good, just be aware it may not be the best time to push or lift heavy in certain things like hinging patterns, simply because when you're bleeding, your estrogen is at its lowest. And estrogen provides tensile strength and structure to tendons and ligaments. So you can be a little bit more prone to injury. So that's just kind of the recommendation I would give to that. And then, Rebecca, make sure you are eating well pre and post training when you are on your cycle. What are my thoughts on BFR curls? I don't know cuffs. I also don't know what that is. A BFR cuff. I'll see if I get to that if you chat that down below. Protein powders, I do really well with plant-based. I do not do well with whey. How do I know I don't do well with whey? Well, I've tried, 100 different ways over 27 years. I get bloated, gassy. I don't feel good. I also, if I look at my smoothie and there's a layer of foam, I'm like, that can't be good. If the foam is in there and then I put the foam in here, what's that byproduct going to be? Genuine Health has a long time been my favorite. It is organic, it's fermented, it's plant-based. I understand not everybody can do plant-based, so maybe you're looking at whey, maybe you're looking at beef-based. I do not use collagen as a source of my protein. I consume collagen every single day with my Within Us products. That's a non-negotiable for me, but that collagen is for the lining of my gut, for my hair, skin, nails, tendons, and ligaments. It is not going towards the protein I need to eat in my macros. And women make this mistake all the time. They'll get like 30 grams of their protein from their collagen. And I'm like, that is not the same as chewing your chicken or your eggs or even getting it in a complete protein source when you're getting it in a powder. Okay. How do you get the formula that'll work for us if you can't join Ignite? You would work with one of our coaches, which in this case would be Christine one-on-one. Okay. Vegetarian protein guidance. Honestly, look online, look on Pinterest. I'm not a vegetarian. So I can't say to you, like, I know every single which way to combine it, but I would seriously, that's when I would look to something like Pinterest because it's so visual and there's boards. So I would just go on Pinterest and put in best vegetarian protein sources. If you rely mostly on yogurt or protein powder for morning protein and your stomach is fine with this, is it okay to keep doing? I mean, yes, one of the other ways you can create a lot of consistency is you don't have to reinvent the wheel and have a different meal all the time. But just be mindful that even though your stomach might be fine with dairy, do you have a lot of mucus? Are you clearing your throat a lot, blowing your nose? Do you have any skin breakouts, any eczema, dandruff, those kind of things just to pay attention to? And maybe just expanding your repertoire, right? Like leftovers, ground chicken, ground turkey, ground beef, like those kind of things as well. Yes, you get lifetime access in terms of like you're in it live for 8 weeks. When it's done, it's in a custom membership site for you, and your login will always work going in there and revisiting all the information. I'm 67 years old, healthy, active, but need strength training and a tune-up. Do you take all ages? We totally do. We have women inside of Synced that are well into their 70s. And that's also why we have different like we have beginner, intermediate, advanced. When you're inside of Synced, you also get access to all of our pre-built programs. So we have like a total body basics that Christine and Mary on my team teach, and that is for someone that is like trying to get into that habit and routine. There's also Pilates and bar and yoga, mobility. Um, Quick question is, now I'm in the thick of perimenopause. How do we track inflammation and patterns when there's no longer a normal, when no longer a norm is a reference? Meaning, like, because you're in perimenopause, your cycle is kind of all over the place, right? There's no like, you can't follow like a 28-day cycle anymore. You track it based on your symptoms. You track it based on how you are feeling, right? So that is going to be the best way. And the reality is in perimenopause, like, it's a moving target. You're always like, where's the bullseye? So this is why paying attention to your body is really important. And when you're saying you could eat one food one week and you're fine, and then the next time it's causing you bloating or hot flashes, the hot flashes, I can guarantee you, isn't coming from the food. The hot flashes would come from like unstable blood sugar, elevated stress response, FSH climbing, screaming from the brain to the ovaries, do your job. And the ovaries are like, I'm retiring, right? And that can be where the hot flashes come from. The bloating, the reason women will get more food sensitivities and digestive upset as they age is naturally. And this is not just women, this is men. Our stomach acid decreases the older that we get. And this is now when we need either something like bitters, or we need to bring in digestive enzymes to help bring in enough hydrochloric acid, amylase, protease, and lipase to break down carbs, fats, and proteins. So if you get gassy, bloated, and irritation, you may want to look at adding in a digestive enzyme or some bitters. And we do help you to figure that out. Like a big part of what I'm teaching you is about digestion and inflammation, also liver and gallbladder health. Like all of these things matter. So this is what I'm saying. If you're someone that's so hyper focused on the calories and the perfect workout plan, but you are not taking into account of your liver health, which is what metabolizes all of your hormones, of your gut health, you're going to end up back here next year. If you have synced, is there a discount code for Recomp? No, there's not. Only for Ignite. Is the link to your Instagram a Juice Plus Cacao Rock? There should be a link that's on there. If not, you can email hello@Jenn Pike. Recently diagnosed with Graves. Can this have come from my metabolic health changing? Graves' disease is an autoimmune condition. It is the opposite of Hashimoto's, where it is hyper, and that you for sure want to work with somebody one-on-one. And the origin, like what comes first, the chicken or the egg, it's always going to come down to that individual's health and health history. So I would definitely recommend that you are working with either a naturopath one-on-one or somebody in the functional health space who has more tools to look at both the origin of like seeing the writing on the wall as to how this was happening in the body and then creating a level of support. I would say with Graves' disease, if you're stable, Ignite might be a good fit. If you're not stable, I would recommend you don't do Ignite right now and you work with somebody to build the stability first. And that could be Stephanie on our team. She's our functional health practitioner. Yeah, getting enough calcium is actually not the problem for most people. So most women have a calcium shell, which means there's too much calcium in the blood and it's trapped in the tissue and it's not getting into the bone. So if you're eating dark leafy greens and you're getting enough protein and all of your amino acids and you're eating healthy food, I can guarantee you're getting enough calcium, right, for that. And it's not like I haven't drank dairy since I was 15 years old. My bones are as strong as an ox, and I can tell you that because I have my DEXA scan right here. So we also have been told that the best source is through dairy, but the best source is the source you can digest and break down. I don't do well with dairy. I can do cottage cheese, but I use a lactose-free one. Everybody is different. Do you recommend weight? Okay, I already talked about that. Genuine Health is heavy metal tested. Yep, and you can go onto the website. They have a whole notification about that. When you're losing weight and feeling awful, sleeping is impaired, could this be related to detox? It can. It also can be that you're doing something too quick, too soon. You actually shouldn't feel awful when you're losing weight. And anyone who tells you otherwise, like you might feel hungry sometimes you're in a deficit, but you should not feel awful. If you're feeling awful and you're not sleeping well, your body is in a state of stress. That is not the goal. Okay. Blood flow restriction cuffs. I don't have any experience using them. I'm seeing because my son is in high level hockey, lots of the players will use them on their legs. I don't have personal experience with them. You would take a digestive enzyme with your meals or just before. Can you take bitters long term? You can. They do not decrease the amount of stomach acid you're producing. They do not negatively impact your digestive enzymes on any level. A blood test, okay, so I have a whole free blood testing guide on my website at jennpike.com, and I have an hour-long video that breaks down all different blood labs to ask for, what the results can mean. So you can go and download that one for free, Marcy. Um, can you give a home electrolyte solution? Yeah, totally. So if you want to make it at home, you can do some coconut water, like a half a cup of coconut water. You could do a quarter teaspoon of cream of tartar, which is where the potassium is coming from, and then a really good quality like Himalayan sea salt. I like Redmond's real salt. So you would do a quarter teaspoon of salt, quarter teaspoon of the cream of tartar, coconut water, and then fill the rest with your regular water, and you can make your own. There's also sometimes adrenal cocktails that I'll give to women that actually the base of it is orange juice because we actually need to get they have literally, been avoiding glucose and fructose for so long. It's part of why the adrenals are suffering, why they have low blood pressure, they're dizzy all the time, they don't feel good. You see this a lot with POTS, postural orthostatic syndrome, and so like tachycardia syndrome. So orange juice could be the base, adding those other things in. Steph is amazing. Yes, she is. Can workouts be done in a gym? All of the workouts that are inside of Ignite are video based. You do get access to a program that I built in Synced called Synced Stacked, and those are gym based workouts. And there's two or three different phases of progressive overload that is in that. What's one thing for a supplement you would suggest to incorporate daily? Well, I think I talked about that above. Like magnesium, I would never skip, ever. So, magnesium, right now, like I'd say my top three are the magnesium, creatine, and an adaptogenic mushroom. Those would be the things that I would be saying, let's not skimp on that. Omegas, I love a lot, but we can eat the omegas. The creatine, getting that in your food is harder. The magnesium is going to come rich from the food, but we're just depleting it at such a rapid rate as women that we need a lot more of it. Love acupuncture. It's fantastic. Coconut oil can be fine for body care and for cooking. Any thoughts on drinking a bottle of water with chia seed soaked in it? I mean, good for fiber, can help to make you satiated. Not something I've done often enough to be able to say, like, oh, yes, I noticed the difference from that. No negative side of that. How do you stick through the boring stuff? Do you have any tips? Yeah, a lot of self-talk. Like, again, here's the thing you have to ask yourself. If what you've been doing in the past is constantly jumping and changing, this is why I really like when I was in school, we were taught build people new meal plans. I stopped wanting to build meal plans for people 15 years ago because I was like, the meal plan is the problem. Now we're teaching people that if they don't have a plan, they don't know how to feed their body. And that is not true. So instead, it's learning how to feed your body and you just stick with it. Like it's not like food is meant to be enjoyable, but it's not meant to be this high. And so it's like you just have to look at it like you get up every day and you brush your teeth. You get up every day and you eat the nutrients that your body needs to feel its best. And so, for me, if something feels boring and I'm like, look, I'm looking down, like I'm looking at a bowl of food, I'm like, I'm going to add like fresh parsley and sparse it up. I'm going to add like a new herb or a new thing, to get in there. It is also great if you can have some kind of accountability, community or a partner or somebody that you like bounce ideas off of, or you do it with. But I stick with the boring stuff and it's easier now because the longer I stick with the boring stuff, the better results I see. At 46 years old, my body is so much fitter than it was at 36. And it's because at 39, when I was training for my last show, which I won and got and earned my pro card at 40 years old, stepping on stage, the greatest lesson I learned working with my coach that year was don't change the things that work. And the things that worked were the boring things. And so for the last 6 years, I have stuck with the boring things and my body has never felt, or for me, never looked better because I stopped trying to change it all the time. I have been following the same strength training program since April last year. So I do 2 to 3 workouts on top of what I teach in Sync. And it is the same program I've been following since April last year. and I track all my workouts, pen and paper, not on a fancy app. We love distraction. I remove distraction everywhere I can in my life. Simplicity. Vibration boards, again, don't have enough experience with them. My whole thing with it is like, if I had to choose between buying a vibration board or buying a walking pad, I'd buy a walking pad every day of the week because it's going to help me to get that movement, and it just I can like review emails and I can do it, and that motion is also for your lymph system. So to me, I'm always like, do I need another thing in my house? I find I need a treat after every meal. Stop this, or sometimes could it speak of a deficiency? Sometimes, other times though, it's just a habit. I like to have a little something after a meal sometimes, you know? So who cares if you go have like a square of chocolate? Big deal. That again, that's the 1%. Like that one square of your dark chocolate or whatever that you're having, that is not going to make or break your results. And if you're tracking macronutrients, you just put it in there. You want to have a piece of chocolate every single day? You go put your chocolate into your tracking and now it's accounted for it. But whatever you do, don't beat yourself up over it. Do you count Metamucil as a fast food fiber? I do not. I'm not a fan of Metamucil. There's not very good ingredients in that. I would use something like if you're in the States, there's a really good product by the company Morphus, which is Andrea Donsky, who has some of like is becoming one of the most published researchers in menopause. So her company is called Morphus. Um, in Canada or anywhere else, like psyllium husk is good to use. Renew Life is a good company. Just when you're going into a health food store and you're looking at a product, number one, don't buy your products in the pharmacy. Go to like your local health food store and ask the people who work there. I'm looking for a great, fiber powder to add into my smoothies. And what are they going to say? Red light, I mean, to see results, it depends what you're using it for. But when I was using it for my skin and for hair growth, I was using it every day, 10 minutes every single day. Is Ignite building strength workouts? Um, what do you mean by that? Yes, all the workouts in there, they're focused on building muscle, right? So again, Ignite is metabolic repair. It is building muscle and losing fat. So that is what those workouts are geared towards. Plus, then there's also like you do the body every single week inside of Ignite, which is Pilates and bar and yoga. That's part of your recovery. It's also where you learn how to engage and move properly with all the small kinesthetic muscles. Okay. Hume Health Body Pod. Don't have any experience yet, but they have reached out to send us one. I haven't decided if I'm going to say yes. And my reason being on that, and again, I could change my mind because I haven't used it yet, is if we become so focused on the scale, on any kind of a scale and anything, I think sometimes we lose a little bit of what is actually important. What I like to see women do is I like if they want to measure results, take pictures of yourself. Pictures will show you so much change. Take a photo every week or 2 weeks. You can do your measurements. I will let you know though, Julianne, if I decide to get or like I agree to try the pod, what my honest opinion is. And I have a lot of to reference it because I have DEXA and I have my in bodies as well. So, and I also am trained in Harpenden, which is actually how to do physical calipers to do body fat. So I have a lot that I can bump it back off of to be like, is this accurate? Is it worth it? Do I recommend any anti-parasitic cleanses? I do. I'm not going to talk about that in this though, because it's not related to this, but I will tell you, I have two podcasts that are on the Simplicity sessions where I've gone deeper into this with Kim Rogers, and we're doing a community, like a community parasite cleanse starting February 18th is when we kick that off. And there's a class before that to help you understand, like, why would you do this? Is this even something that you should do? And I'm going to say to you all right now, don't jump into another shiny object. There's some people who really need to do that level of support, and there are other people where it's just a distraction. And I'm always going to be honest about that. I don't gatekeep stuff either. Um, do I have post on skin? Not really, because my skin routine is the most boring. And thank you for saying that. But I actually struggle with rosacea since I was like 38. And I don't get it in like red patches. I get it in these like tiny little like breakouts that like, I get microneedling done because I'll have scars from it. So I do not have perfect skin by any stretch of the means. But my routine is simple. I've used Skin Essence products for over 10 years. I use my girlfriend Joy McCarthy's products. I keep things as simple as possible. I never go to bed without washing my face. I drink a lot of water. I take the things that I talked about. I wear a hat all the time. I'm not interested in getting sun exposure on my face. The midday squares, little bars, they are delicious. They are so good. And again, you just put that in. You're so welcome. My walking pad is literally from the company, The Walking Pad. I have a 20% code for that actually. In Instagram, I have a discount reel with all my discounts. And my version, I think, is the Z1. Very simple. It stays folded up under my desk all the time. I have my whole system probably cost me in total $500 for my desk and my walking pad, and I love it. Has a little remote. It unfolds. It's right at my feet right now, and I can unfold it. I can get 6,000 steps in 1 hour, walking 2 to 2.5 miles per hour, just answering emails, doing a team meeting. I just taught a 2-day business retreat. We all walked throughout it. Everybody got their 10,000 steps in, literally sauntering. Okay, it's not a sprint. You are so welcome. All right, my friends, we are at the point. Let me just come back in here. Okay, I answered those. Any last questions before we hop off today? Thank you so much for being here. The time always goes by very quickly. We've been an hour and a half. I feel like we jammed a lot of information in there. You'll get the recording in the next 24 to 48 hours. Any questions that you have about anything we talked about, you can just reach out to me on Instagram. And love hanging out with y'all. Do I have anything to add to the collagen at night? It's chalky. A little bit of citrus, a little bit of lemon juice can break down some of that if you're finding that. TMJ, I would definitely go to either a chiropractor, osteopath, acupuncture can also be amazing for that as well too. Uh, Discount codes will all be sent out with the recording. I'll post the link here for you right now, though, so that if you want to go and grab one of the spots for Ignite, you have got it. And if you do go and you join today or tomorrow, send me a message and let me know. Okay, I'm going to post it in here. We start live on Monday. Everything is recorded. If you can't make any of the live classes, you always get the recording. Everything goes into a custom dashboard. Like everything is there. Everything is taken care of. We have a community that's on WhatsApp as well. And I would say if you are someone who doesn't like community, don't join Ignite because I'm huge on community. And it's actually the community is what heals a lot of the women because most of you put yourself on an island and you really should be part of a village. And that'll be a big part of what you learn and how you grow and support one another. Natural Calm is a good product. I don't like NRC and Emergency, any of that. Last time I looked at those ingredients, not very good. You can always message hello at Jenn Pike and get Christine's contact info. You won't be able to talk to her over the weekend before we start live on Monday, but you can always send an email and then get connected to reach out to her. And we start live Monday, but I always let women come in for that entire week. So don't panic if you're like, oh my God, I didn't sign up for Monday and it's Thursday. You can still come into the program. We just would send you the recording of the first class that you missed for that. All right, friends, hold on. I see one more that's in here. Oh, you're welcome, Marina. Have an amazing rest of your day. I'm going to go eat real food now. Take care, everyone. Thank you.